welcome in. Thanks so much for being here today for Sports and Shenanigans, where women's sports and pop culture collide. My name is Jillian Carol Latrinko. I am your host, and we are so grateful to partner with Cherry Company to bring you another amazing female in the world of sports. She's a former female athlete, and now she is working in sports broadcast. So excited and so honored to introduce you all to Simone Roberts. Simone, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So I'm pretty pumped, and I love to kind of share a little bit, not behind the scenes, but kind of like a little info. I loved that we actually got connected by a mutual friend, Sweet Carly, who also is a woman in sports. But she connected us and just knew that we would kind of hit it off. And then after chatting with you, I love your story, and I think it can you can relate to a lot, and a lot of people could relate to you. So would love to have you share a little bit about it. Let's talk a little bit about your athletic career first. So, from Stone Mountain, Georgia, from an early age, you were a track star, setting records, state championships, junior Olympics, medals won, and then you raced your way into Michigan and was a major part of the track and field team there. But from your perspective, share with us just a little bit about your athletic career and what initially drew you into sports and specifically running.
Yes. So I actually started track and field, I want to say my eighth grade year in middle school or seventh grade because I had stopped doing dance and my dad said, okay, well, you have to do a sport. So running was what we went with. And I remember got thrown into the 400 meters and the 200. So I kind of got to stick with that. And I got to win my first medal. That's when I knew, okay, this is something that I like the idea of winning and I like the idea of competing with my friends. And that kind of carried on through high school, got through high school. And I was like, you know what? I want to still do this collegiately and then had the amazing opportunity to run at Michigan. But I think before that, I actually really got into sports. I was part of the marching band and I wanted to know what I was cheering for every Friday. So I really started to research. Big Atlanta Falcons girl, just from being from Georgia. And I've been with sports ever since.
Okay, I love that. It almost started as you were almost a spectator, really, and you wanted to learn more about it. That's so cool, and that is rather unique. Let's talk a little bit about when you knew you wanted your path to include being a student athlete, because it's one thing, and let's say collegiate student athlete, because it's one thing to um, cheer and dance and run and do all youth sports, but then to go to high school and again win a medal at the Junior Olympics, and then of course Michigan is a big school with big sports programs. When did you know like being a collegiate student athlete was something like a goal you wanted to chase?
As I mentioned before, the idea of running collegiately was a little bit later in my career. I was at the Junior Olympics in Sacramento and I had PR'd by I think it was like a second and a half, got my first call from Cornell, and I thought to myself, I was still having so much fun doing this. I might as well, I'm clearly starting to have the time. I might as well try and do it collegiately. And I met with the Michigan coach and I was talking to all my friends who ended up running collegiately. And I just knew I still had the passion for it. So I knew if I had the chance, why not just try and run for it, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I love that somebody saw something in you and it kind of ignited this new desire to pursue that, which is incredible. Looking back at your athletic career in general, what would you say that you've taken like lessons learned or characteristics built within you as far as being an athlete, and now as you are transitioning into post collegiate careers? What are you bringing from your time as an athlete?
I think everyone says it's time management from being a student athlete. But for me, it's also the idea of running your own race. And obviously, you'll be in the same industry as other people who want to do what you want to do, and you're competing against other girls who are running the same race as you. Um, but you're really competing with yourself. You're not PRing compared to someone else what they're running next to you. And that's something that I'm definitely bringing into my career is running my own race and comparing myself to me, because my journey, my race is going to be very different for what someone else, quote unquote, trained to be where they are.
Yeah, such a mature perspective there. And let's talk a little bit about, your post collegiate career. I have so much respect because walk us through kind of after Michigan, you attended and you're kind of wrapping up now, but graduate school. So talk to us a little bit about where you are now and what you're doing.
Yes, so I'm at Northwestern, at Medill, their School of Journalism. That was also, I feel like a last minute decision. Kind of going into my last year, my last semester as a senior. I knew I wanted to go into sports broadcasting, and I still wanted to be in sports once I graduated from undergrad. And I had been talking to several people who actually were Northwestern alum, and they kind of convinced me, well, I think you should do it. Northwestern's one of the best journalism schools. I visited my friends in Chicago and kind of fell in love with the idea of being in such a sports heavy environment. And I've been able in probably 4 months to build a really cohesive reel that I didn't have when I left Michigan. So I'm so grateful for Northwestern for everything that it's done and kind of projected me to where I am now.
Yeah. And as you are approaching the opportunity to land your first job, just what are you looking for? Like, what would be your dream ideal next step?
I would love to do sports reporting and have the chance to cover a D1 program. It doesn't really matter to me what sport it is, especially coming from someone who ran track and field and wasn't in a big time sport such as basketball. I just love the idea of getting to tell the behind the scenes stories of these athletes that we get to see in these big moments. But to me, it's a little stories with their teammates and stories with their coaches and where they're from that is more important. So if I get the chance to do that, that will be a dream I right out of college.
And how would you say being a collegiate athlete will how do you think that that's impacted your perspective and maybe the reporter that you will be? Like what like that unique perspective that you bring?
I think going behind the scenes and knowing the hard work it takes to even compete. And, at Michigan, I got to work with the football team, the basketball team. I had friends on all of these different athletic teams, and I was able to see what it took them and the differences and what we all do. And I think that's something when I go and find a unique story or a unique character to kind of wrap a story around, I think it's really easy for me to find what makes them unique and special because I try and do it athlete forward just as an athlete. I think I love a good story when someone comes up and asks me a personal question because I know they researched me and it's not just about, okay, so you won that race last week. How do you feel? I think the more personal questions, the personal stories always make for a more meaningful ending.
Yeah. And just better for the listener, the viewer, I completely agree. Okay, well, there is a little bit about Simone's athletic background. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, dive into a little bit more about media in general, being a woman in media. We've got more with Simone Roberts coming up right after this break. Stay with us, guys.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Folks, there's nothing that beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And there's no simpler way to get in on the action than by downloading the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part, Pick Six is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick Six, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
And we're back. We're pleased that you're joining us for more sports and shenanigans. Of course, we are on the Kansas City Sports Network. And as mentioned earlier, we are joined by Simone Roberts, former track and field athlete at Michigan, current broadcasting and journalism student at Northwestern. And Simone, we're kind of just peeling back the layers, learned a little bit about your athletic career, and now learning about your ambitions to jump into sports media, sports broadcasting. And we talked a little bit about bringing a different perspective. As a former athlete, you've lived that life. You understand kind of some of the storylines that could be shared and could be interesting. I'd love to get your take on, in general, just being a woman in sports. And as you were an athlete and now a journalism and broadcasting student covering sports, what type of challenges have you faced? Have they been unique to being a woman? What are some of the most difficult challenges that you've seen thus far in your career?
Yes, I think it really started early for me being an intern working in football at Michigan. There's a different type of way you carry yourself, and it's a fine line of figuring out what my style is and figuring out how to come off confident enough but not feeling the need to have to prove myself when it comes to what knowledge I know about football and really any sport. And I think it can be hard finding that other woman in sport or that other person that you can connect with when you are in a really male dominated field. It can be difficult sometimes, but I think you just roll with the punches sometimes, but it's still a learning process for sure.
No, I completely agree. And as a woman who's also worked in NFL and MLS, sometimes you're literally the only woman in the room, or you are one of two in the program. Do you feel like you had to work harder? Do you feel like you had to just be a little bit more buttoned up? Or how did you feel you were able to earn the trust and respect from some of your colleagues?
I definitely felt I had to be more buttoned up in the way I presented myself. At Michigan, I was blessed. Carly, we were the first couple interns, us and one of our other really good friends. So I had two other women in sports who are just as tenacious as me. But even when I came to Northwestern and you meet other people in the program, it's really hard making sure people still understand you have a personality outside of sports, because I do think as a woman in sport, sometimes there is an inadvertent need to share, well, I do know all about this. I watch this all the time, or I learn about it, and still having that other side of yourself, that other coin, where it doesn't feel like that is just your personality. I've definitely gotten the name 5 players on this team if you know this sport so well, and then you do, and it's like, well, I mean, I've covered it, I've recruited, I've been there, and now I feel comfortable. I'm like, I don't want to prove myself. I think my work will speak for itself.
Yeah, that's powerful. And that's so cool that you were able to kind of find your crew and just put your head down and get to work. Lean on them when you need to. A support system is so important. You brought up an interesting part of your career, which was your internship. How important would you say internships are in regard to let's stick with the career path you're choosing. Probably could be most careers, but in regard to media, in regard to broadcast, and really in the world of sports, how important would you say an internship opportunity is?
It was so important. I feel in sports, these opportunities are far and in between and extremely competitive. But what I learned is sports is nonstop, which I mean, you're watching TV, you see football's on, basketball's on, baseball's on, soccer, you know it's year round. But when you're interning and you get there at sometimes 6 and you don't leave till 10, you're like, okay, this is a full-time job and it's not 9 to 5. And it is the hard part about sports, but it's such a privilege to be able to be part of these big moments and even little moments. So for me, it was nice to be in it, be in the ground. And then it's great for networking. I think the industry is so small, even though people believe it's ginormous. But when you get to personally meet people, when you're just trying to connect and not look for jobs, to me, that's more important. When I just get to know someone else who's doing what I hope to do one day.
Yeah, the relationship piece, right?
Mhm.
That's so important. Okay, in your career, and obviously you are grinding it out right now and on your way to finding that first job when the time comes here pretty quick. Who have been some of your mentors or inspirations as far as your career, like the broadcast world?
Yes, one of my mentors, and she's been so great. I met at Michigan, Tracy Wolfson. I have sent her every adaptation of my reel um ever. And Jenny Taft, I got to shadow at a Michigan game, and as a woman who you see them on TV and you see what they get to do, and being able to connect with someone who's been doing it for so long and seems kind of unattainable in a way, it's so nice when they are there to give you advice, to give you little feedbacks. Here's who I would reach out to. Here's how I would change this. And even in Chicago, I will say women in sports are amazing because I will reach out, DM someone, ask, hey, can I shadow you? Hey, can I get this piece of advice? I have a question for, what markets do you think I should be in? And but those two, they have been there for the last probably 3 or 4 years, and I can't thank them enough.
Oh, forgive me, my jaw just like dropped when you mentioned Tracy Wolfson specifically. She is just amazing and she's been fun. I have had the chance to just meet her like in the hallways at Arrowhead a couple times because obviously with CBS she's out there quite a bit. But what a connection for you having that Michigan connection. That's super fun. And then Jenny Taft also. I love that both of these women, they cover multiple sports, but I think that something that I know about both of them, just so wise, so educated on whatever they're covering. I always feel like they're trustworthy and can give you the right information.
Yeah.
What are some things that you look for in regard to, like, let's say Tracy, some of the things that you admire in her game and her prep and the way that she delivers?
The way she preps is so different. I also think it's because her background, how she got into broadcasting is different. She was more production and then got in front of the camera. And I feel because of that, she understands the little things that go into what makes a broadcast tick really well. And she asks those like really personal questions to the athletes. She's there all the time. She's traveling constantly. And I try and think, okay, what are the little behind the scenes that maybe my producer might want to know, or someone my own age would want to ask this athlete that they wouldn't know. And based kind of off of that, that's how I also try and prep. Sometimes when I'm interviewing an athlete, I'll even ask them, hey, if you would ask yourself anything, what would it be? And I've gotten some of the best stories through that question. So I'll keep doing that for sure.
That's amazing. I'm going to write that one down. That's good. Yeah, that's really good. And Simone, you are just so close to jumping in, finally getting into your first TV job, sports broadcasting job. I just have to know how you're feeling about just the momentum within women's sports, supporting women in sports, not necessarily female leagues. It could be just a female in any type of sports league, but how exciting is it to know that you're diving into the world of sports as a woman when there's just so much momentum supporting women right now?
I think there couldn't have been a better time for me to enter. Anytime I find it doesn't even have to be professional league, any type of women's sports, I am absolutely obsessed. There's a new women's tackle football team here that I got to talk to, and I was so excited to see something new and see women be able to just express themselves in all these different ways that we weren't able to really do or wasn't shown before. And right now, when I get to expand my circle of friends who are women in sports and to see everyone succeed, it's like it warms my heart because when one person succeeds, to me, it brings all of us up higher. And I can't wait to even just shine more light. I even think in the track and field world, you have Cindy McLaughlin and Gabby Thomas, and that's bringing more attention. And I remember as a track athlete, you'd have guys who'd be like, "Well, I bet I can beat you in a race." And like I work out and train for this every day, but now that I get to see all of these women's sports getting highlighted, I'm really excited to be a part of it. Especially, it's on a rise, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon, and I hope it never does.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I genuinely think, to your point, like the rising tide lifts all ships. I think it is just one of those situations where this momentum we're all feeling right now is not going anywhere but up. It's just continuing to rise. But it's so cool. Okay, the other question I just had, it was kind of a similar thing, but in regard to sports coverage, what are some things you think about when I ask you about just providing an inclusive environment, whether that be women in male dominated fields, whether that be women of color across multiple leagues? Like, what are some of your thoughts in regard to keeping sports media inclusive?
I think it's extremely important. I'm sure everyone hopefully has that same idea, whether it is different races and seeing more women. That's also one of the ways I really got into wanting to be in media. I saw Robin Roberts on TV and I was like, wow, there's someone that looks like me that's, on television telling great stories. And even now when I get to watch other anchors such as like Malika Andrews,
Yeah.
to me it's important because you can see yourself when you are, for instance, like going through a job search and it's hard and you're in the middle of telling a hard story and you see someone telling really great stories in such a huge stage. It gives you more hope, like, okay, I can do this. And especially seeing more women on TV since I entered college, it really made me feel more confident that I could get wherever I wanted to. And I'm sure for anyone who is even 4 years younger than me or in high school, to them, it's probably more important to see people who look like them on TV and they can understand that someone that looks like them can tell their story and they feel even more personally connected to whatever story is being told.
Yes, I love it. And you shouted out some of the best. Robin Roberts is just cream of the crop. So good. Well, I'm so excited to hear just your journey and learn a little bit about the reporter and the broadcaster you want to be. I know you're going to be amazing. But for anyone listening who maybe wants to follow along in your journey, what is the best place to do that? Where can we follow you?
The best place would probably be Instagram. My Instagram is thesimone.roberts, or I have a sports Instagram that I'm very excited to be more active on called Sideline with Simone. I think it's the cutest name ever.
So good. So good.
So I'm just trying to share any and every story that I'm doing in the behind the scenes so people can really understand what it takes to tell all the stories that we get to tell.
Yeah. Well, there it is. You guys, you have to follow her. We can tell that you're going to have a long, successful career, Simone. You really do bring a unique perspective, and it sounds like a genuine desire to tell the stories of athletes. So I know you're going to be amazing. So thank you for joining us today. And of course, if you're listening, don't forget to give her a follow as she is breaking into the world of sports. She's going to be one that you're going to want to remember her name. Of course. But thanks so much for being here for Sports and Shenanigans. We will have more next week. For now, go hit the follow button for us if you don't mind. YouTube, Instagram, all the things. And you can look out for the next pod coming next week. This has been Sports and Shenanigans. Simone, thanks so much.
Thank you.